Believe it or not. The Baker's Broadcast, presented in behalf of the 30,000 bakers in the United States and Canada, with Ozzie Nelson and his orchestra, Harriet Hillard of radio and screen, a fight for the six-gull championship of the world, and, believe it or not, Robert Ripley. Are you ready, Ozzie?
Right.
Okay, go. Here he is, Robert Ripley.
Greetings, everybody. Hello, Harriet. Hello, Ozzie.
Hello, Bob. Say, Bob, what have you got for us tonight?
Well, tonight I have three live, believe it or not. But first I want to tell you about some unusual inventions. Harriet, did you know that a man actually invented a rubber necktie with a sponge attachment?
Well, what for?
For eating spaghetti, of course. And there's a silencer invented for people who snore.
Oh, a handy little gadget.
And so is a perfume atomizer, which was especially invented for people who like to eat Limburger cheese. And the goggles with windshield wipers, Ozzie.
Goggles with windshield wipers?
Yes, for people who eat grapefruit. And one man actually invented a non-skid banana peel, believe it or not.
Oh, come on now, Bob.
It's true. There's even a machine for making dimples on blondes. And a locket for holding used chewing gum.
Now, on the level, Bob, were these things actually invented?
Certainly, Ozzie. They are patented and registered at the United States Patent Office in Washington. Why, a man named William Steiger invented a new use for his breath, even. He converted his breath into steam to heat his underwear.
And I suppose he froze to death when he ran out of breath.
There was a young man who walked 2 miles twice a day to call on his girl.
Of course, this was before the automobile.
Oh, yes, when the shoe business was pretty good. But this young man had a special complaint. Now, let me draw you a radio picture about it. The time is in 1589, and our hero is a young Englishman named William Lee. Every night, when he went to call on his girl, this is what invariably happened.
Mary, I've been waiting for this moment all day. Mary, darling, I love you. Oh,
Put down that knitting and listen to me.
1, 2, 3, pearl.
Mary, will you stop that infernal knitting?
Yes, William. 4, 5, 6, turn.
But-
What is it, dear? 7, 8, 9.
Mary, you haven't heard a single word I've said. I love you.
10, 11, 12.
This has gone far enough. Every day I walk miles just to see you, to talk to you, to make plans for our future. And all I get is 1, 2, 3, pearl, 1, 2. I can't bear it any
Now,
longer.
you mustn't talk like that, William. If I didn't keep up with my knitting, my father and little brothers would all go barefoot.
But,
They wear out enough stockings for a regiment.
well, can't you buy these things?
Isn't that just like a man? Buy stockings. 1, 2, 3, 4, pearls.
Do you mean to say that I'll have to put up with this every evening until we're married?
Yes, William, and probably afterwards, too. 5, 6, 7, 8, turn.
But Mary...
Now, stop interrupting me. Oh, you just made me drop a stitch.
Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting. Has a man no rights in England?
1, 2, 3,
1,
4,
2, 3, 4... Wait. I've got it. I've got an idea.
And young William Lee did have an idea, which laid the foundation for Europe's greatest industrial development. William went home and invented the knitting machine. And all because when he wanted to make love, his girl wanted to knit one and pearl one. Believe it or not.
Ozzie, that was swell, Bob. You got any more?
Well, there's the great Scotch invention. That's the mouse trap, which catches the mouse and saves the cheese. And by the way, in spite of Oliver Wendell Holmes' famous prediction, if you build a better mouse trap than your neighbor, all the world will be to pass through your door. Well, André Drescher, the Frenchman who invented our modern mouse trap, actually starved to death and died in poverty. Believe it or not.
Say, Bob, what in your estimation is the world's greatest invention?
Well, I want to tell you about the world's greatest invention and the amazing story behind it in another radio sketch, and I've actually been on the scene myself. It starts on a bright spring day in 1540 when a young traveler from Strasbourg is walking along the street of the little Dutch town of Haarlem. Suddenly, he stops before the door of a house and knocks.
Ja, what you want?
Does Lawrence Costa live here?
He does. And what you want?
I am his nephew from Strasbourg. I should like to pay a visit if I may.
Oh, yeah, come in, please. Meneer Costa is sitting out in the garden. See him over there, under the willow tree.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, madam.
Oh, Matilda, who is there?
Someone to see you, Meneer Costa.
Then bring him here. Closer. I don't see so far. Who is it?
It is your nephew, Johann, Uncle Costa. Johann of Strasbourg.
Oh, Johann. Why, I hardly know you, my boy. It has been so long. Come, sit here on the shade. Matilda, bring Johann a cool drink.
Ja, Meneer Costa.
And how fares our family in Strasbourg?
When I left, Uncle, all were well. I've been traveling for 3 weeks. I'm seeing the world.
So, when I was young, I too traveled to see the world. I found my world here in Holland, here under this old willow tree.
The tree looks very old, Uncle Costa. It's all cut and scarred.
Yes, so I did that when I was a young man, just about your age, Johann.
Yeah?
It was more than 40 years ago that I stood on this very spot with my arm around the girl I later married. It was spring. I was young, and she was very beautiful. I carved a heart and our initials in the bark of this old willow.
But the initials are gone. There is only a scar left.
Yes, so there is only a scar left on the tree. When my wife died, I cut off the bark bearing our token of love for fear it would fade on the trunk of the willow. I wrapped the bark in parchment. I've always carried it close to my heart, like a sentimental old fool.
I think your love was very beautiful, Uncle Costa.
Oh, here, Johann, let me show you. Here. You see, the bark and its inscription have been well preserved in the parchment.
Oh, let me see that. No, not the bark, the parchment.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Wonderful. See how it is marked with the letters L.K.?
Why, yes, I noticed that. I think the sap from the tree has stained the parchment.
Wait. if the letters were reversed...
What do you say?
Would not the imprint be forward?
Oh, come, my son. Don't make fun of an old man's foolish
Uncle
sentence.
Custer, I'm doing no such thing. But see how the letters of your inscription on the bark are imprinted on the parchment.
Yeah, I saw them, Johann.
But the letters are backwards. If you had reversed the carving on the bark, don't you see, Uncle, the letters would read forward, like on a manuscript.
Yeah. But what does all this mean?
Why, it means we could carve letters, words, whole sentences backwards on wood and place them over and over again on parchment, and they would come out straight.
But Johann, the sap would soon be gone.
But I shall not use sap, Uncle. I shall use ink.
So Johann went home to Strasbourg and worked on his idea. A year later, in 1451, the first printed book was given to the world. It was the famous Gutenberg Bible. And so an old Dutchman's sentimental attachment for a piece of engraved bark was the inspiration for mankind's greatest invention, the art of printing. For the young inventor's name was Johann Gutenberg. Believe it or not.
And here's Harriet to sing for you.
Crosspatch, how can anyone be so cross? Won't you tumble off your high horse? You know you love to be loved. Crosspatch, if you feel the wind change, they say, it'll make your face stay that way, and then you'll never be loved. Cultivate a smile, sweet and sunny. You can catch a fly with honey. You're acting so spoiled. Shame, everybody knows your name. Crosspatch, don't you know it takes two to fight? Won't you kiss and make up tonight? You know you love to be loved.
Bob, what do you have for me tonight?
Oh, Ben, I want to give you an idea of the popularity of bread throughout the world and down through the ages. Believe it or not, bread is mentioned in the Bible 365 times, once for every day in the year. And during the Middle Ages, an accepted form of oath was to say, I speak the truth as truly as I live by bread. And to this day, the Mohammedans always break their bread instead of cutting it with a knife, because they believe bread is too sacred to wound with steel.
Well, Bob, we are getting back to the old-time appreciation of bread. Scientific research during the last 3 years has more than justified the high regard that people for centuries have had for it. For instance, it's been discovered that bread aids the digestion of other foods and helps the body utilize more of the iron in other foods for building good red blood. Also, that bread gives off a steady flow of energy. It doesn't give you just a spurt. It gives sustained energy, vitality hour after hour. Now, when you eat bread, you're less apt to get a tired, let-down feeling about 11 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon. Bread is our best and cheapest energy food. So, for the sake of economy as well as family health, encourage everyone to eat plenty of bread. It should be a part of every meal you eat.
Oh, Ben, let me add something.
Yes, Bob.
A salute to the 39th Annual Convention of the National Retail Grocers Association, to be held next week in Dallas, Texas.
And here he is again, Robert Ripley.
Say, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, my first live, believe it or not, has been alive for 96 years. Here's George Isaac Hughes of North Carolina.
And what's his claim to fame as a believe it or not, Bob?
He has just become a father at the age of 96. 2 years ago, when Mr. Hughes was 94 years old, he became the father of a fine baby boy. Then, just a few weeks ago, at the age of 96, he became the father of a 6.5-pound baby girl.
Well, I guess that is a believe it or not.
And now, Ozzie, since this is Father's Day, I thought it proper and fitting to present this remarkable father to our radio listeners. Mr. Hughes has come all the way from New Bern, North Carolina, to appear on this program. And here he is, America's #1 dad, Mr. Hughes. I understand you don't hear very well. You might talk a little loud. How old are you exactly, Mr. Hughes?
96 years old.
96?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been married?
2 years.
2 years, and you have 2 children?
Yes, sir.
And have you been married before?
Yes, sir.
And how long ago was that?
69 years ago.
69 years ago. Well, how many children did you have?
16.
16 children.
Yes, sir.
By your first wife?
Yes.
And now you have 2 by your present wife.
Yes, sir.
Well, tell me, Mr. Hughes, how old is your oldest child now?
86.
He's 86?
90.
And how old is your youngest?
18 weeks old.
18, must be 18 days. So
Days, I mean, yes.
18 days, that's
yes.
right. Your oldest is 86, and your youngest is only 18 days.
18 days.
Well, that is, believe it or not,
Yes, sir.
I understand, Mr. Hughes, that your newest baby is a girl. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's right.
I suppose you wanted a girl.
Yes, sir, I wanted, first of all, a boy, I thought I wanted a girl.
Now you want a girl?
A girl.
And now tell me, now this is confidential. Do you walk the floor with these 2 new babies of yours? And you take care of them when your wife is busy?
Not much.
No?
I don't much of it.
You know? Well, now, that's your first trip to New York, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And when you leave here, where are you going?
I want to go back to New Bern, be with my old lady.
Your old lady? How old is your wife?
She's 28 years old.
28 years old. Well, I don't blame you. Say, Mr. Hughes, do you think you'll have any more children?
I hope so.
And why?
Yeah.
You say you hope so? Why do you hope so?
Well, that'll make me 20, and I thought I'd hold up with them.
You were going to stop there. All right. I want to thank you, Mr. Hughes, very much. And I know our radio listeners want to thank him, too, for coming to New York and helping us celebrate Father's Day. Ladies and gentlemen, that was George Isaac Hughes, who at the age of 96 is still hale and hearty, and his paternity at 96 has been authenticated by the American Medical Association, believe it or not.
Now we hear again from Ozzie Nelson, who, incidentally, along with Harriet and the boys, has been held over for a second week at the Paramount Theater in New York City.
Thanks, Ben. And just before we go ahead, I heard Mr. Hughes, who is 96, say his oldest son was 86, so I'm going to dedicate this next song to him. It's a sin to tell a lie. Be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Millions of hearts have been broken just because these words were spoken. I love you, yes I do. I love you. If you break my heart, I'll die. So be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. a sin to tell a lie. Thank you, and I understand we've just checked up with Mr. Hughes, and his oldest son really is 68, which is a real believe it or not at that.
Well, Bob, where are those other lives, believe it or not?
Right here, Harriet. You remember Billy Goat Mandy, who was on our program last winter?
You mean the man with the world's hardest
Yes,
head?
Billy Goat Mandy, whose skull is so hard he can break boards over it. Well, he's back with us tonight. But I have another man who claims that his head is harder than Mandy.
And do you mean to say you found a man who actually would butt up against Mandy?
I certainly have, Harriet. And I'd like to introduce him right now. And here he is, challenger for the Six Skull Championship of the world, Hardhead Reeves of Walnut Ridge, Arkansas, the man who breaks bottles over his head.
Sure glad to meet you, Hardhead. You've got your nerve to butt Mandy.
Oh, I just got my head.
Well, tell me this, Hardhead. How do you keep in training?
I used to train on milk bottles. I had to drink too much milk.
So what'd you do?
Quit the liquor bottle. It makes me tougher. Give me a bottle, I'll show you.
Okay, here. Oh, gosh, he smashed it to pieces. Are you satisfied, Mr. Nelson?
Satisfied? I'm saturated.
Bring on that cheap Billy Goat butter.
All right. Now, Reeves, you just wait over the corner while I talk it over with the champion. Come up to the microphone, Mandy.
Hello, Mr. Ripley. Hi, Mr. Nelson.
Hi, Mandy.
Well, how are you feeling tonight, champ?
In the pink, in the pink.
You know, Mandy, that in the studio tonight stands a man who claims that he has a harder head than yours.
Go on, I'll murder him. Who is he?
He is Hardhead Reeves, the pride of Arkansas. And he's so tough that he uses a block of wood for a pillow.
Sissy, he would last too much with me.
Well, I tell you, he promises to render you incommunicado.
Huh?
He says that you're due for a beating.
Why, I'll murder that high school punk.
Now, a champion has to do more than talk. Are you sure you're in condition to take him on?
Me, perfect condition. Get a hold of the stick. Suck me on the beam.
How's that?
Oh, Mr. Nelson, you tickled me that time.
Well, I see the champ looks to be in perfect condition. And now I want you to meet the challenger, Hardhead Reeves, the terror of Walnut Ridge. Come here, Hardhead. Meet Mandy. Mandy, this is Hardhead Reeves.
Hello, Hothead. Why, I'll murder that guy.
Well, I tell you what I'd like to see you do. Suppose I put that big rock on top of your head and hit it with a sledge. Is that all right with you, Mandy?
That's your bet.
All right, here we go. All right. You're getting the rock. It's not a small one either. Putting it on his head. Ozzie's up on the table. He has a sledgehammer. And now he's going to swing that sledge. And... wait!
What's your specialty, Hardhead?
I dive through doors. Dive through doors? Say, Ben Brower, bring that wooden door over here, will you? Let's try him out.
All right, here's the door. Let's see you go through it.
He went right through it. Maggie, did you see that? Champion, did you see that?
I'll murder that guy.
Well, all right. Now, suppose you two boys get yourselves in shape right now.
Good.
How about warming up a little bit there? Are you both ready?
I warm up a little bit.
How about you, Hardhead?
Don't
All right, boys, here we go. The battle of the century.
Okay, then. All right, folks, let's go.
There goes the gun. There's the gun. The champ walks to the center of the ring. He lifts a 2-inch plank above his head. He's lifting a plank out and bang, he hits himself. Oh, what a beautiful blow. Tosses his head triumphantly and walks back to his corner. 2 points for the champ. Now the challenger's looking annoyed. The challenger swaggers out of his corner, advances to the middle of the ring. He picks up a bottle, and he springs it. Bang, down it comes. Somebody throws him another bottle. He does it again. 2 points for the challenger. He retires to his corner. Here comes the champ again. The champ has a dinner plate. The crowd stands back. He breaks the plate to there, lets himself have it. Oh, what a head! What a head! He walks back to his corner.
Mandy got a brick in his hand and hit himself with the brick. Now heads down, raging like bulls. The challenger and the champion advance on the other. They go for each other, cranium to cranium. Here it is, a personal duel between the two. Oh, it's all over, folks. It's all over. They're both on the floor. They're just a second. Quiet. Let's see if I can get them to drone into the microphone. How do you feel? How do you feel?
All right.
Okay, and here's the challenger, folks.
Champ
Harriet
sure
Reeves.
Champ sure can take it.
Fine. I bet his mom was listening and like that. Mandy, give us a word, will you, Mandy?
That guy ever gets a haircut, I'd murder him.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard the battle of the century between Billy Goat Mandy and Hard-Hair Reeves, the men with the hardest heads in the world, believe it or not.
Well, maybe the Pilgrims did land on Plymouth Rock, but I think it was just those two boys asleep on the beach.
Question to housewives.
All right, Mr. Grower, we're listening.
What would your family do if you were to serve exactly the same meal 3 times a day, day after day? What would happen if you always served the same kind of meat, the same kind of vegetables, the same dessert all the time?
Well, I know if I ever tried that, my family would go on strike. Why, half the pleasure in eating comes from having different things.
Why, exactly. Good housewives make every meal a surprise in some way. But many completely overlook one of their best opportunities for variety and novelty. They always serve the same kind of bread, meal after meal.
I can tell you, Mr. Grower, that that's just plain habit.
Yes?
I used to do that myself until I discovered how you can spruce up a meal, well, by having, say, raisin bread now and then, or buns or rolls, or rye bread or whole wheat.
And it's really just as easy to serve a variety. Bakers make all those types of bread and more, fresh for you every day, delicious and wholesome. And they offer them to you at less cost than you would bake them at home. All you have to do is choose from their big variety of delicious baked goods. So this week, besides the regular white bread, offer your family raisin bread or rye or whole wheat or some of the appetizing buns and rolls that bakers make. Oh, and try one of the wine cakes that bakers are featuring all this month. That's a delicious golden yellow cake that's ideal for serving with beverage, ice creams, or fruit. Get a wine cake tomorrow.
Today being the first day of summer and the longest day of the year, I'm reminded of a verse I read on the ancient city gates of Barcelona. It reads, La vida es un sueño, which means that life is a dream, and may your life be a happy summer dream that lasts forever.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.